Well, Ukraine's president said there is almost no life left in the besieged town of Soledar. Capturing that town would make it easier for Russian forces to surround and ultimately seize nearby Bachmut, giving Russia a much-needed win on the battlefield. This fight for Soledar is eliciting some unusual praise for Ukraine from the chief of Russia's private military contractor. Scott McLean back with us this hour from Kyiv, and it is the Wagner chief suggesting that Ukrainians in Soledar are fighting with honor. It does seem remarkable to hear that from the chief of Wagner. What do we understand to actually be happening there? We're getting descriptions from both sides. Is it clear what is actually going on the ground?
Becky, both sides will tell you that the fighting is extremely intense there. Beyond that, there are some conflicting viewpoints on what's happening. So if you ask the head of the Donetsk People's Republic, one of the occupied territories in Ukraine, he says that Soledar is almost captured, but he didn't offer any evidence to that. The Ukrainians say, hey, don't count them out just yet. We've just gotten word a few hours ago from the Ukrainian military. They say that the situation in the town is stable, and it's even better than stable in some parts along the front line in and around Bachmut. But they also did not rule out the possibility of withdrawing or retreating troops from Soledar. They said that if they did that, that would, the primary reasoning or factoring in to that decision would be the lives of their troops, so that they could live to fight another day and live to try to retake this territory. But as I said, the Ukrainians are not mincing words. President Zelensky described the fighting there as extremely difficult, and it seems clear that the Russians have amassed a huge number of troops and a very large volume of weapons and equipment along the front line of Soledar, hoping that they can capture that city and then start attacking Bachmut from a different angle from the north, Becky.
You're in the capital. What's the view from around the country?
Yeah, so we got word today from the Russians that they will not be releasing a list of names of victims from that devastating strike on the temporary barracks in Makivka that even they concede killed 89 soldiers, citing in part privacy reasons. There is also continued shelling in the Kherson region, more strikes in Kramatorsk and also in Kharkiv. And I should warn you, the pictures you're about to see, some viewers may find them disturbing.
Amidst the destruction, there's movement, an unlikely sign of survival. Then commotion as rescue crews arrive to pull the victim out. A few feet away, a police officer walks out carrying an injured girl, who officials say is just 13 years old, bloodied but alive. Ukraine says on Monday a Russian missile strike hit a market in the village of Shevchenkove, some 25 miles from the front line. Local officials say that 2 people died and at least 6 others were hurt. Over the weekend, the Russians launched a series of missile strikes on Kramatorsk. They say in retaliation for a devastating New Year's strike on a Russian makeshift barracks that even Russia concedes killed 89 soldiers, though Ukraine insists there were many more. Russia claims its retaliatory strikes killed more than 600 Ukrainian troops. Ukraine called that nonsense, and CNN's team in the city found no evidence to suggest there had been a mass casualty event, just a massive crater in front of a high school and a lot of broken glass. Some of the fiercest fighting is taking place in Bachmut and nearby Soledar. A visiting Ukrainian general saw the destruction along the main road and a hive of activity as medics work to treat an injured soldier in an undisclosed location. Near Bachmut, a Ukrainian drone captured the moment a bomb is dropped on Russian troops carrying an injured soldier. Both Kyiv and some Russian military bloggers believe Moscow is eyeing a fresh round of conscription to bolster the front lines. The Kremlin has firmly denied it, though it also denied its plans ahead of the first mass mobilization in the fall. On Sunday, 50 Russian prisoners of war were swapped for 50 Ukrainians, held captive without any news from the battlefield. What's going on with Izium? One soldier asks. Izium has been liberated, he's told. It was recaptured way back in September.
And Becky, in addition to the strikes on Kramatorsk that I mentioned in that story, there was yet another missile strike late last night that landed in the city. This one landed on a roadway. It killed 2 people who were inside of a car nearby. It is not clear what, if any, kind of military target the Russians were actually aiming for.